Good morning. This is Dulia De Silva for Gold FM, bringing you your morning news.
The news headlines on Gold FM.
In your news headlines, dissonant communication from Sri Lanka and US on sinking of Iranian vessel. Trump's war powers to continue unimpeded. Is Iran ready to speak with CIA? Supreme Court rules in favour of youth detained over Easter attacks. In sports news, Finn Allen smashes world record as New Zealand reach T20 World Cup final.
The top story on Gold FM.
The prevailing Middle East conflict situation came that much closer to home yesterday, with an Iranian vessel sinking off the coast in international waters. Of the 180 sailors who were believed to be on board, 84 were brought back dead to the Gaul hospital. 32 rescued sailors are currently receiving treatment. Speaking to the press, US Secretary of War Pete Hegseth confirmed that the US torpedoed and sank the vessel in the Indian Ocean. The Pentagon released black and white footage of a Mark 48 heavyweight torpedo striking the frigate, sending a geyser of seawater into the air.
Today early morning, MRCC received a distress signal, though it was beyond our water.
In the Indian Ocean, an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II. Like in that war, back when we were still the War Department, we are fighting to win.
However, things aren't so clear-cut. There was a contradicting story put forward by the Sri Lanka Navy, who, together with the Air Force, held a media briefing on the matter. Navy spokesperson Commander Buddhika Sampath gave this explanation.
Today early morning, MRCC received a distress signal, though it was beyond our waters, but it is within our search and rescue region. As we are a maritime nation, we are obliged to respond. We are the first responders as per the international obligation. So Navy swiftly coordinated with the Maritime Rescue Coordinating Center, and also we disseminate this information to the Sri Lanka Air Force and Coast Guard as well. And we launch and dispatch our craft with all the necessary rescue team and the necessary devices to render humanitarian assistance, and we reached up to that location and continue doing this search operation. So while doing search operation, we found people floating in the water and rescued them, and subsequently when we inquired them, we found that those people are belonging to the Iranian ship, and we understood that they need prompt medical attention, and we swiftly transferred them to the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital. So we still continue in the search and rescue operation in that particular area with the calculation of weather condition and the maritime related calculation, and we are continuing the search and rescue operation in that particular area. And also we have found some dead bodies, and we suspect these bodies are belongs to the same ship because we found these things in the particular search and rescue area.
He also insisted that the distressed ship wasn't even visible.
When they reached up to that place, we could not find the ship, but we found slight oil patch and floating life raft in that particular area, and we started doing searching survivors in that particular area because we understood that the survivors should be in the water.
The Navy also claimed that there weren't any other ships in the vicinity of the scene.
So does that mean the ship was away from the normal shipping channel? Because we have thousands of ships traversing around.
Okay.
They stick to a certain corridor.
Maybe due to the time of that incident, it may had happened that we have sighted only the while we reaching on that particular area, we have sighted none in that particular area because of the maybe the time of that incident and going to the.
There was also speculation that the Iranian vessel was awaiting permission for the port call in Sri Lanka.
Just want to clear the air about this allegation where that this Iranian naval vessel was waiting to call port in Sri Lanka. Has that happened, or is this just speculation?
So my focus is to give the updates on the rescue mission. So right now we are doing rescue mission effectively. So later on we can go into further details. So as of international obligations and the provisions and the regulations and the conventions, we are doing our part and we are attending search and rescue operation because that incident had happened within our search and rescue area.
This is the local news on Gold FM.
President Anurukumar Dissanayake chaired a high-level discussion yesterday at the Presidential Secretariat to evaluate the safety and welfare of Sri Lankan tourists and migrant workers in the Middle East. Officials confirmed during the meeting that no Sri Lankan citizens suffered serious injuries as a result of the ongoing regional hostilities. The President received briefings on the 24-hour emergency diplomatic services currently active across Sri Lankan embassies in the affected areas to provide immediate assistance to those in need. The discussion also covered logistical arrangements for workers currently in Sri Lanka who require support to return to their workplaces abroad. The Fort Magistrate stated yesterday that no facts regarding the detention and questioning of retired Major General Suresh Saleh under the Prevention of Terrorism Act reached the court yet. The statement came as lawyers representing the former State Intelligence Service Chief filed a motion seeking access for legal counsel and family members. Counsel further requested the court to allow home-cooked meals for the suspect, citing potential life threats due to his previous national service, and sought an order to prevent his removal from Criminal Investigation Department custody without judicial permission. The magistrate declined to issue the requested orders, noting that no formal report concerning the suspect exists before the court at this stage. Lawyers informed the bench that CID officers previously searched the suspect's residence without a warrant, claiming such authority under the PTA. The Supreme Court ruled yesterday that the fundamental rights of a youth were violated during an arrest for alleged ISIS activities following the Easter Sunday attacks. The bench found that authorities failed to provide sufficient evidence or a reasonable suspicion to justify the 2019 detention under the Prevention of Terrorism Act. Justice Sobhita Rajakarna ordered the Mount Lavinia sub-inspector to pay 30,000 rupees from personal funds and the state to pay 20,000 rupees in compensation.
Now for some news in brief.
Assistant Superintendent of Police Rohan Olugala, who was transferred as the director of the Valana Anti-Corruption Unit, assumed duties in his position. The Department of Meteorology forecasts that showers or thundershowers are possible in parts of the Uva and Sabaragamuwa provinces and in Hambantota, Nuwara and Ampara districts after 2 p.m, while most other areas around the island will remain mainly dry.
The business news on Gold FM.
And now it's time for a stock market update brought to you by Roshan Fernando of Capital Trust Securities.
A midday recovery was seen by investors buying out some valued stocks as the market dragged down very large quantities in previous days. The all-share price index, however, climbed 134 points to close at 22,577, following a sharp advance in the first hour of trading. The S&P SL 20 index also increased 44 points to close at 6,357. Turnover was 4.68 billion rupees. This was lower than the year-to-date average of 6.3 billion. Trading momentum was led by ACL Cables, Access Engineering, Colombo Dockyard. Sector-wise activity was concentrated on capital goods, diversified financial and banking counters.
Oil prices rose more than 1% in early Asian trading today amid ongoing concerns over Middle East supply disruptions. Brent crude climbed 2.49% to $83.43, and WTI at $76.73, which is up by 2.63%.
International news on Gold FM.
The US Senate voted 53 to 47 to unsuccessfully block a bipartisan resolution that would have required congressional approval for further military action against Iran. The measure, backed by Democrats and a small number of Republicans, sought to reassert Congress's constitutional authority to declare war. Opponents argued that President Donald Trump's actions were within his authority as Commander-in-Chief, and the motion was effectively quashed. Meanwhile, during a lengthy briefing, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt defended the administration's actions, stating that the objective of US operations is to permanently extinguish Iran's nuclear ambitions, dismantle its ballistic missile capabilities, and destroy its naval assets. She said Iran was paying in blood for what she described as decades of hostility towards the United States. The administration maintains that the strikes were necessary to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons, an assertion Tehran has long denied, insisting its nuclear program is peaceful. Speaking separately at the White House, US President Donald Trump said that the strikes were essential to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon, arguing that, quote, "When crazy people have nuclear weapons, bad things happen," unquote. Additionally, the US military confirmed the identity of a fifth American service member killed in a drone attack in Kuwait during the opening days of the war with Iran. The Middle East conflict continues for the sixth day, with United Kingdom maritime trade operations reporting that a tanker anchored about 30 nautical miles southeast of Kuwait's Mubarak al-Kabir port was hit by a large explosion. The vessel sustained damage and an oil spill was observed, though there were no fires, and all crew members were reported safe. Meanwhile, the Strait of Hormuz, which holds roughly 20% of the world's oil supply typically passes, saw shipping activity grind to a near halt amid Iranian threats. The head of the UN's International Maritime Organization said approximately 20,000 seafarers and 15,000 cruise passengers are currently affected by the disruption. Further, the US Energy Secretary stated that the US Navy would escort oil tankers through the strait as soon as it can, although military resources are currently focused on ongoing operations. In the meantime, hostilities have intensified beyond Iran. In Lebanon, 3 people were killed in Israeli strikes near Beirut. The Israeli military said it had launched a new wave of strikes targeting military infrastructure in Tehran. The conflict also ignited fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. Further, the Hezbollah leader declared that the group will not surrender after launching rockets and drones at Israel in response to the US-Israeli strikes that killed Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Iran responded with widespread airstrikes and ground operations in southern Lebanon, prompting tens of thousands of civilians to flee. Elsewhere in the Gulf, Saudi Arabia said it intercepted 3 cruise missiles near the city of Al-Kharj. Qatar's foreign minister demanded that Iran halt attacks after missiles targeted US military bases in the region. Satellite imagery shows significant damage to Iranian military infrastructure, including naval bases and missile complexes. US and Israeli officials say much of Iran's missile launch capability was degraded, with the number of missile launches reportedly down sharply since the initial exchanges. However, Iran warned that it will target Israel's Dimona nuclear facility if attempts are made to pursue regime change. Shipping disruptions, energy market volatility, and rising insurance costs continue to ripple through the global economy, as insurers and governments explore measures to restore maritime trade through the Gulf. As military operations intensify and diplomatic options narrow, the conflict shows no immediate sign of de-escalation, raising fears of a broader regional war with far-reaching global consequences. Meanwhile, the humanitarian impact is mounting. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees said an estimated 100,000 people fled Tehran in the first 2 days following the attack. In Lebanon, nearly 60,000 people are sheltering in collective sites, while thousands crossed the borders into Syria. Governments worldwide are racing to evacuate citizens. The US State Department confirmed that government-chartered flights are bringing Americans home from the region. Canada, the US, and several European nations are organizing commercial and chartered flights. In the United Arab Emirates, around 200 Indian tourists were evacuated after airspace disruptions left them stranded.
Entertainment news on Gold FM.
Gary Donsing, a three-time Emmy-winning writer-producer of Murphy Brown, died at the age of 79 in Los Angeles after a brief illness.
Sports news on Gold FM.
New Zealand stormed into the final of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup with a commanding 9-wicket victory over South Africa in the first semi-final at Eden Gardens. Chasing 170 for victory, the Black Caps produced a sensational batting display, reaching the target in just 12.5 overs. The highlight of the run chase was a breathtaking unbeaten century by Finn Allen, who smashed 100 off just 33 deliveries in one of the fastest and most explosive knocks in tournament history. The second semi-final will be played between India and England in Mumbai at 7 p.m. today. That's it for now. This is Dulia De Silva for Gold FM. Thank you and have a lovely day ahead.